Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A cyborg found in the junkyard discovers she is an excellent fighter and must retrieve the memories of her past to know what to do with these incredible abilities. Today we will recap the story of the 2019 movie Alita: Battle Angel. In the year 2563, 300 years after the fall, Dr. Dyson Ito, a doctor who specializes in cyborgs, is in a junkyard looking for parts to assemble his patients when he finds something extremely valuable. Amidst the wreckage are the remains of a robot whose brain is its only human part. After verifying that the creature is still alive, Dyson decides to take it to his clinic. With the help of nurse Gerhard, the doctor connects the robot head to a new body. Hours after the procedure, the young woman wakes up and is startled to realize that she no longer has her old body. After looking in the mirror in an attempt to recognize herself in her new appearance, the girl puts on her clothes and approaches the doctor and nurse who saved her. Dyson asks her how she feels and offers her an orange to raise her sugar levels. Without remembering how things work in that world, the young woman eats the fruit, peel and all. She finds the taste strange, but everything changes when the doctor removes the peel from the food and asks the girl to try it again. The girl asks if they know her, because all her memory has been erased and she cannot even remember her name. However, Dyson reports that he found her in the junkyard and found absolutely no record of her. Since the young woman is a total replacement cyborg, the doctor was able to restore her, as both her brain and her vital core were miraculously intact. The pair then take the cyborg to see the world outside the clinic, and she is surprised to see Salem, the only major air city left after the fall. The place where they are is called Iron City, and below it are several other cities until they reach the underworld. This is a form of hierarchical division, with the ultimate goal of the people being to reach Salem. The young woman asks the doctor if she has a name she can use until she finds out her real name, and Dyson suggests Alita. Happy with her new acquisition, Alita walks through the Iron City alongside the doctor. He tells her that after most of the suspended cities were destroyed, survivors from all over the world ended up in that place. On TV, a live motorball competition is on, and Alita is soon interested in the sport, but Dyson says it's just a big waste of time. Later, they stop for a snack, and while the doctor chats with a shopkeeper, the young woman decides to share her sandwich with a street dog. Minutes later, a giant robot appears walking toward the girl, and Alita prepares for combat. However, Hugo, a boy who was passing by on his motorcycle, sees the young woman in danger and rushes to get her out. Seeing that the dog is about to be crushed by the monster, Alita goes back to protect him and saves the animal. Hugo is impressed by the girl's abilities and is even more surprised when he discovers that she is a cyborg. Just then, the doctor appears, and the boy says goodbye to Alita. That night, a woman is coming home from work when she is suddenly attacked. Hours later, during the early morning hours, Alita hears a noise and goes to see what is happening. She then comes across Dyson arriving home with an arm injury. The next morning, the man attends a cyborg who has been the victim of a robbery, in which his arms and legs have been taken. Alita asks why the thieves steal the pieces, and the doctor explains that they do it to resell them on the illegal market. Nurse Gerhard claims that he was lucky to have survived, because the night before a girl was eliminated during an attack. Upon hearing this, Alita remembers seeing Dyson arrive home with a suitcase in the middle of the night and begins to suspect that he is the aggressor. Startled, she decides to go for a walk and runs into Churin, Dyson's ex-wife. The woman looks closely at the young woman's body and is furious when she realizes that the doctor has put the body that should belong to their daughter in her. Sitting in a restaurant, Churin invites her former husband to work with her on a new project to assemble the greatest champions of the motorball competition. The woman believes that by doing this she will be able to return to Salem. However, Dyson states that this is impossible to happen, as no one has ever returned to that place. She says that Vector can help her, but Dyson refuses to build monsters, and Churin assures her that she will find a way back to Salem, even if she has to climb with her bare hands. While walking down the street, Alita spots Hugo playing motorball with his friends. He invites her to play, but at first her performance is a disaster. She slowly manages to keep up with the other players, until she is taken down by Tanji. In the next match, the girl has blood in her eyes. She manages to take revenge on her opponent and scores her first point in the game. Alita says she needs to go home, and Hugo offers her a ride home. On the way, the young man asks where the young woman came from, and she says she doesn't remember anything about her past, since she has known few flavors since she was reactivated. Hugo decides to make a stop along the way and take the cyborg out for some chocolate. After tasting the food, Alita says that it has become her favorite food. At this point, Hugo points to Zapan and informs him that this guy is one of the most powerful hunter warriors. Everyone in their class makes a living hunting criminals. Alita is delighted with Zapan's sword, and Hugo informs her that firearms are forbidden in Iron City. The punishment for those who break this law is death. The boy takes his new friend home, but they continue to meet day after day. Hugo takes the cyborg to the top of an ancient church and claims that if he were as strong as her, he would have already climbed the cables leading to Salem. He says that he has some contacts and very soon he will win his place in the elite, whatever it takes. That night, Alita hears Dyson leaving again and decides to go after him to find out what the man does during the early morning hours. The doctor does not notice that he is being followed as he chases a girl through the streets. When the man is about to attack, Alita jumps on top of him to try to stop him. Just then, the red-clad girl disappears, and Dyson realizes that he has fallen into a trap. Two villains appear and intend to eliminate him, so Alita discovers that the doctor is also a warrior hunter. Dyson attacks his enemy and manages to rip off one of his arms, but is soon knocked down and discovers that the girl he was trying to protect is actually a cruel cyborg who is there to eliminate him. As he is about to be eliminated, the man orders Alita to flee, but instead the young woman runs toward one of the enemies and, after knocking him out with a kick to the chest, smashes his head with her fists. Nisiana enters the scene and intends to use her claws to open Alita's skull, but the girl manages to dodge the blows and punches the cyborg's head into the wall. Now only one enemy remains, Griwishka. The mountain of muscle rushes at the girl, but is not fast enough to catch her. While facing her opponent, Alita has a vision and remembers a small scene that occurred in the past, where she and her team were fighting dozens of enemies on the moon. With a single blow, the young woman rips the monster's arm off and uses Dyson's weapon to attack him. However, the creature manages to escape with the promise that he will come back for her. After the battle, the doctor goes to the factory to collect the bounty on the head of Nisiana, a wanted person who earned him 40,000 credits. If it were not for the money he raises from these missions, Dyson's clinic would have closed by now, as he usually offers free treatment to his clients. On the way home, Alita tells about the memory she recovered during the battle and the doctor decides to tell her the truth about the body he granted her. The man reveals that he built that body for Alita, his daughter, but the girl lost her life before she could use it. One night, one of Dyson's patients came to his clinic seeking repairs. The doctor was a restorer of motorball game competitors and had assembled an extremely strong body for him. When confronted, the man left in a rage and, on the way, attacked Alita. The girl could not dodge in time, since she was in a wheelchair, and ended up dying after the attack. After losing her daughter, Churin decided to give up the marriage and Dyson became a hunter to eliminate that man. However, after completing his mission, the doctor realized that there were several other monsters loose out there, and so he decided to continue acting as a warrior hunter. When analyzing Alita's heart, Dyson tells her that this machine, which was already with her at the time the girl was rescued, has the strength to supply power to the entire Iron City for years, and this makes it very powerful. The doctor reveals that this technology no longer exists and the last time it was built was before the Great Fall. This means that Alita is over 300 years old. Injured, Griwishka goes to Dr. Churin for help. While reassembling the cyborg, the doctor is visited by Nova, the guy who controls the city of Salem. The man manifests through Griwishka's body and reveals that Alita is the last of her kind, one of the greatest fighters of our time. Finally, he orders Churin to transform the cyborg's body into a fighting machine to eliminate the girl. Before leaving, Nova takes over Vector's body and promises that if the doctor delivers Alita's body to him, he can take her back to Salem. The next night, Hugo takes Alita to watch a motorball game and the young girl is delighted by what she sees. She asks which player is the greatest, and the boy points to Jashugan. Hugo tells her that if he can stay undefeated for several years in a row, a player can be chosen and sent to Salem. Suddenly, Hugo's colleagues show up and inform him that they need to perform a new job. Before leaving, however, the young man invites Alita to go somewhere special the next day. What the girl doesn't realize is that Hugo's job consists of stealing parts from other cyborgs. The boy and his team attack as a group to neutralize the target and take him to a less busy place, where the pieces are removed. Then Vector shows up to make payment and pick up the items of interest. The next day, as promised, Hugo takes Alita for a ride outside the city and invites Koyomi and Tanji to accompany them. They walk until they reach a ship that was there 300 years ago. Hugo believes that this ship can help Alita remember something about her past. Immediately, the cyborg jumps into the water and walks over the rubble until she reaches the control room. There, Alita finds the skeletons of her former companions and her memory leads her to a hidden chamber, where the young girl must enter a code to gain access to her real body. Minutes later, she appears on the banks of the lake and takes the body home. However, upon finding out what the thing is made of, Dyson refuses to do the procedure to connect the two. The young woman reveals that she feels a connection to that body, and the doctor tells her that her core is designed to respond to that type of armor called Berserker, which is actually a powerful war system. The instinctive battle technique used by Alita, known as Panzer Kurst, is a lost martial art that was once used by soldiers, so the young woman is always ready for combat. This ranks it as the most advanced cyborg weapon ever created in human history, and this is the reason Dyson refuses to bond Alita to that body. Furious, the young woman makes the decision to register as a hunter-warrior, for even though she is in a frail body, she wishes to obtain the license to eliminate Griwishka and all other enemies. With her registration in hand, she goes to a bar where bounty hunters usually gather. Just then, the little dog she saved earlier appears and enters the establishment with her. The beating started early that night and the duo finds Zapan beating out of his coworkers. Upon discovering that Alita is a hunter, the cyborg introduces her to the greatest fighters. Among them is McTeague, one of the most lethal hunters who uses his hellhounds to pick off criminals. Next, the man states that a hunter-warrior is a lone predator and asks if Alita is willing to compete with them for targets. Instead, however, the young woman reveals that she is there to ask for her colleagues' help in defeating Griwishka, a common enemy. However, her strategy does not work as expected and none of the hunters agree to join her in this battle. Faced with this failure, Zapan starts making fun of the girl and Alita does not hesitate to provoke him back. Furious, the cyborg grabs her neck, but the young woman immediately fights back at a speed that the bully cannot keep up with. He then pulls his legendary sword from his waist and starts to attack the girl, but Alita manages to dodge all his attacks and, in a single blow, throws Zapan away. Now that she has managed to get the attention of her colleagues, Alita challenges them to a duel on the condition that if she wins, they will join her in her battle. In the next few minutes, great chaos ensues in the bar and the hunters begin to fight among themselves as they try to defeat the girl. Hugo uses his stun gun to help his friend, but the battle comes to an end when Dyson arrives at the bar and orders everyone to stop fighting, otherwise he won't fix anyone else for free. Griwishka appears shortly thereafter and uses his claws to eliminate one of those guys. He informs them that he is after Alita and the hunters refuse to defend her. Seeing the young girl in danger, the little dog steps in to protect her, but the cyborg brutally eliminates him. Faced with this cruelty, McTeague is furious, and Alita paints her face with the animal's blood before going on the attack. When he realizes he is outnumbered, Griwishka destroys the ground and summons Alita to fight in the underworld, for that is where the monster came from. The young woman manages to hit him with her blows, but her body is not strong enough to destroy her enemy's new armor. Then Griwishka tries to hit the girl with his retractable claws, but Alita manages to dodge the attacks. However, the situation changes when the cyborg decides to switch strategies and uses his words to annoy the girl. Overcome with emotion, Alita makes a reckless move and ends up having her body sliced open during an attack. At this time, she has another vision of her past and remembers her friend saying that she needs to eliminate Nova. Now, with her body destroyed, Alita is helpless, but Griwishka doesn't know her determination. He lets his guard down while the young woman takes the opportunity to strike his eye with her only remaining arm. The monster was about to trample what was left of the girl when Dyson and Hugo show up to save her. They attack the villain and McTeague orders his dogs to finish the job. This was his revenge for Griwishka taking the life of a dog minutes ago. However, the creature manages to escape and Dyson takes what is left of Alita home. His only option now is to reassemble her into berserker armor. As soon as they are connected, the young woman's body begins to be automatically molded to fit her subconscious image of herself, and the doctor is impressed with this technology. Hours later, Alita wakes up and shows the doctors what she is capable of doing with that new body. During the night, she goes out into the city to test her new abilities and meets Hugo. The boy is happy to see her in one piece, and the young woman explains the differences between this body and her previous one. Now Alita has texture sensors, which allow her to feel every touch, just like any other human, so the couple have their first kiss. When he arrives at Chiron's clinic, Griwishka is furious and destroys everything he sees in front of him, until he receives a visit from Nova. Through Vector, the man reveals that Alita is the greatest weapon on the planet. Griwishka's next mission is to destroy her and take her heart to Nova. Later, when he regains consciousness, Vector thinks of a new plan to capture the cyborg, as he does not believe that the monster will have the competence to complete his mission. He invites Hugo to his living room and the boy says that he remembers Vector's promise every day. The man has guaranteed that when Hugo manages to collect 1,000,000 credits, he will be sent to Salem, so the young man does the dirty work of stealing parts from cyborgs. In the next few minutes, they talk about Alita and Hugo figures out a way to send the young girl with him to the floating city. The next morning, the boy receives a visit from Alita and tells her that he met with Vector the night before. After hearing the whole story, the cyborg asks how many credits Hugo needs to complete his mission and asks him to sell his heart to get the money. However, Hugo refuses to accept this proposal and says that he will find another way to get the two of them to Salem. As they walk down the street, he reveals that Vector wants Alita to become a motorball competitor. If she remains undefeated, the young woman can get her place in Salem alongside her boyfriend. This is enough to convince her to play. On the day of the competition, Dyson prepares Alita for the race and reveals that he has made new skates for her. As the young girl finishes putting on all her safety gear, Dyson and the nurse head to the grandstand and Vector meets up with the other competitors. The man promises that he will pay 500,000 credits to whoever manages to eliminate Alita. The game is about to begin and Hugo receives a call from the girl. He claims he will make it on time, but he needs to do something important before he goes to the track. Hugo finds his colleagues stealing parts from a cyborg and tries to convince them to quit that job. The boy says he is out of that business and advises his friend to do the same. However, before Hugo leaves, he hears Tanji offend his girlfriend and they get into a fight. As they exchange punches, Zapan shows up and claims that he is there to rip Hugo's head off. Since hunters are forbidden to eliminate innocent people, the cyborg cuts the neck of the guy who had his parts stolen and intends to hold Hugo responsible for that crime. This whole plan serves only to get revenge on Alita for humiliating him at the bar. Seeing his friend in danger, Tanji decides to act and attacks Zapan. In doing so, the boy is eliminated, but Hugo finds a loophole to escape. Now he must hide before Zapan reaches him. Meanwhile, Alita enters the racetrack alongside her competitors and Dyson realizes that those competitors are hunter warriors. At this point, he discovers that the girl has been ambushed and calls Alita in an attempt to warn her of her adversaries. The man asks her to leave the track, but the cyborg decides to continue the race. She knows that during the race she will need to dodge her enemies' attacks and decides to get rid of them, one by one. While fighting her opponents, Alita receives a call from Hugo. The boy informs her that he is being chased by Zapan and asks for his girlfriend's help. So they arrange to meet at the old church and the girl crosses the screen to leave the stadium. She slides under the sewage pipes and soon realizes that she is being followed. Her enemies have not yet given up on the reward they will receive for eliminating her. As she approaches the church, her opponents diminish as they are knocked down along the way. However, the girl is captured by two hunters. After getting rid of Screwhead, Alita binds her last opponent's feet with a chain and sends him to the crusher. As he is about to enter the church, Hugo is surprised by Zapan, but Alita arrives in time to save him. On the sign next to them is a picture of her beloved in a wanted ad. Zapan says that Hugo has not been honest with Alita, and the boy claims that he has never eliminated anyone. He decides to tell the truth and says that he used to steal parts from cyborgs. After the theft, they would leave without hurting anyone. Hugo tells that he needed this money to be able to get to Salem. Zapan then orders Alita to stay away from her target, but the young girl attacks him. He reminds her that interfering between a licensed hunter warrior and his target is a serious violation of the hunter code. But the girl claims that Hugo belongs to her. This being the case, Zapan says that it is Alita who must eliminate him. When he sees other hunters approaching, the cyborg drives his sword into Hugo's abdomen. Alita then runs with her boyfriend into the church to buy time to find a way out. However, Hugo states that if the young woman doesn't end his life, they will both be eliminated as soon as they leave that place. Just then, Churin appears and decides to help the young man. As a doctor, she feels a duty to save the boy's life. Minutes later, Alita comes out of the church with Hugo's head in her arms. After the criminal's death is confirmed, the young woman receives her reward, but Zapan discovers that this was a setup, since Hugo was using the cyborg's heart to survive. Zapan then tries to steal the boy's head, which is characterized as a violation of the hunter's code. This being the case, Alita is allowed to attack him and uses Zapan's own sword to tear off a part of his face. Hours later, Dyson manages to splice Hugo's head into a new robotic body. Thanks to Chiron's surgical technique, no damage was done to the boy's brain. After hearing the whole story, the doctor reveals to Alita that the only way to ascend to Salem is to become the final motorball champion. According to him, it is impossible to buy your way up. When asked why he is so sure of this, the man reveals that he was born in that city. However, when his daughter fell ill, he and Churin were exiled to the Iron City. Meanwhile, Vector questions why Churin let Alita live when she had the chance to eliminate her. The woman claims that as a doctor, she has a duty to save lives and states that she will no longer work for Nova, even if she never makes it back to Salem. However, before she can leave the room, Griwishka appears to stop her. Hours later, Alita breaks into the hunter's headquarters looking for Vector and uses the sword she stole from Zapan to destroy the robots that appear to stop her. Within minutes, the young woman finds her target and asks if Vector would keep his promise to send Hugo to Salem. The man then assures her that he always keeps his promises and would send Hugo just as he will do with Dr. Churin, because Nova needs human body parts to do his experiments. Just then, Griwishka appears and attacks the girl. Wounded, Alita recovers another memory. This time, the young girl remembers the day she and her team tried to reach Zalem. As they climbed the cables, a giant metal circle swept almost all of her companions away, and the last thing Alita heard was her friend asking her to finish the mission and destroy Zalem. When the young woman gets up, her body regenerates and she is more determined than ever. After pulling Griwishka's claws out with her sword, the young woman cuts the giant in half. Nova takes control of Vector's body and informs him that his real body is in Zalem. Determined to destroy everyone who works for that evil man, Alita pierces Vector's heart with her sword. She then gets a call from Dyson and finds out that Hugo is trying to go up to Zalem because some guards have discovered that he is alive. Immediately, Alita goes to meet the boy and tries to convince him to return. Hugo knows that if he returns to the Iron City, he will always be a fugitive, but he decides to risk his life to stay by his beloved's side. Before they can descend, however, Nova sends his most lethal weapon to destroy them. Hugo spots the circle in time, but his body is not agile enough to jump, and he is destroyed. Alita tries to save what is left of her boyfriend, however, the boy's mechanical arm breaks and he falls off the cliff. Months later, the warrior is about to win the final motorball title. Since this is the only way to get to Zalem, Alita decides to do whatever it takes to get her revenge. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.